Hello everybody, Keith here again. Just want to start off this repotting video with a little bit of news. I started off with these new Cattleyas with the small pots inside hanging bigger pots, the bigger pots which I originally intended to use for them had they been big enough. That didn't really work. Trying to get them in and out to water them, I ended up tipping the right hand one, the orange nugget, out of the pot onto the floor last night, and I had to repot it. So, as you might imagine, words were said. So, what I've done is instead just make holes in the pots themselves and I just hang them up directly. So that seems to be working better. Something else before we actually start the video proper. This is what I believe is Oncidium wildcat rainbows. I got it as a rescue plant, a real mess, from a garden centre. It was in a right horrible state, and it's now flowered for me several times. This spike is not the best by quite a long way. I don't know what's happened this year. Things have not gone as well as they have done in the past. I don't know whether it's what I've done or not done, or whether it's just a horrible spring we've had, which is it's a lot colder than it should be at the moment. So I don't know. Anyway. That's that one. So, what's today's job then? Move that out of the way for a minute. Today's job is to look at these two that are in the deep pots. Phalaenopsis mini-mark and Phalaenopsis Liodoro with a question mark. Neither of them is doing as well as they have in the past. They've both been in their pots at least 2 years, if not a bit longer, and I think it's time that they were taken out and we have a look what's going off lower down. The reason they went into the pots in the first place, as you can see probably best from this one, the mini mark, is the roots are actually quite long. And I can see there are some very long roots down just in the top of the mix in here. And I didn't want to crop them or anything else, but I haven't really got anything coming through which suggests that they haven't actually gone down into the bottom of the pot. So we'll have a look, we'll see what's happened. I mean, they're both grown okay. We've got roots and things coming. This one's got 2 more spikes coming. So I think this one wants doing. The other one, the one that may or may not be Liodoro, again, it's doing okay, but it's not exactly setting the world alight. And I think it would be better if it's out the pot. And we'll have a look what's happening. Again, it's a plant that grows quite a lot of long roots. Some of the roots on the top look okay, some don't look all that wonderful. So again, I think it's time it came out of the pot. We'll have a look at it and hope that'll give it the sort of kick-start that repotting does. So okay, I'll clear things out of the way and then we can think about at least making a start on this. As I've said a few times before, I don't know if this is Liodoro or not. They are supposed to be fragrant, and this one has no fragrance at all. Even though my sense of smell is not very good, I can't smell anything, my wife can't smell anything, she's got a much better sense of smell than I've got. I believe there were two crosses made with the same parents but crossed the other way around, and one tray and one isn't. But I did buy it as Phalaenopsis Liodoro from Noodlinger Orchidane Fader on the 17th of the 6th, 2018. They're not uncommon, you can get them quite frequently, but I mean, he seems reasonably happy with my treatment. It's put a number of spikes up. These spikes are supposed to keep going, and you can see they've not gone back at all. They're all green all the way to the tip, and the tips all seem to have something that could happen but nothing is. So I want to have a look down underneath and we'll see what's happening. That mark that you might not see on that leaf is sunburn, so I'll move that to a slightly less sunny spot. It has got a very large leaf. It should be with a leaf like that, it should be more of a spring summer flowering fowl, but it seems to flower any old time, as so many hybrids do. So let's actually make a start and we'll see what we've got. I suspect the roots won't be as good as they were before, but as I put it in this pot, non-this rubidium pot, and there we are. No, we haven't got roots as good as they were before. Much shallower, and that explains most of the problems with this orchid. That one's alright. That one's alright lower down, that one's obviously gone. But that doesn't really surprise me, unfortunately. You do things sometimes before you know any better. And I don't very much like to disturb orchids an awful lot. I know some people do and don't worry about it, but that's not how I go. But obviously, as I know now, because I've had a bit more experience at it, that you can very easily overpot, and if you overpot, then there's a distinct risk that you're going to do a lot of damage, potentially damage, yes, but really what you're really talking about is that it's not going to thrive, that it's going to lose some of the roots potentially, so that can come down into a considerably shorter pot. Probably still going to want a fair sized one. Like I say, we've got some roots, and I hope now if I can get those roots down into some bark and give it a chance to get on with it, we'll be alright. But that was very much the wrong size pot, and it was wet right the way to the bottom. I know I only watered that, no, when did I water that last? Today is Saturday, and I last did these on Monday or Tuesday this week. So it really is not doing any good. So yep, that's the first one that's going to need doing in a different pot. So I will now have a look and see if I can find another pot that's a suitable size, and then we'll have a think about repotting it. Okay, this is the pot I'm going to use. It's a 13 centimetre, a 5-inch pot. It's one of the ones I was going to use for the Cattleyas. I bodged holes in for that, but to hang them. But no, they're fine. But I think that is going to dry a lot better. It's going to be a standard repot, so I don't think you need to see any of that. Just straightforward bark, and no moss, no nothing else. Just straightforward bark, and we'll go from there. So right, that's Liodoro. Now let's have a look at Mini Mark. I think he's going to look fairly similar. This one at least has been a bit more active than the Liodoro. I got this from Cargo Orchidane in 2018 again, I think. It's a more active orchid. It's probably happier in this pot, but I don't really think that it's going to overall be an awful lot better. The branch off this spike is already going brown, so I want to take that off before we go any further. We have got some more flowers to come on this one, so we'll leave that for now. I've got 2 more spikes coming. I've got at least 1 root coming. Now this one is quite clearly done very much better in that deep pot. We've still got a lot of roots. Right, that one's had it, that's 1. But this is far superior, this is. A lot of very good roots on this. What I find fascinating is you look at the aerial roots and they're really quite fine, and you look at the roots that have been submerged in the compost and they are at least twice the diameter. Slightly bizarre, but I'm surprised by that. I really thought that we would end up with something that was no better than the Liodoro, and in actual fact it looks a lot better. But it hasn't been repotted for a long time, and it's going to need doing again now. I do not like hacking roots off if I don't have to, but this may have to lose some of these roots just to fit into this pot, because I think, like the Liodoro, if I can get it into a smaller pot so it dries out better, it's likely to do better in the future. So yeah, I think that can go in there. It's going to be fun trying to get the compost all the way down to the bottom. You can see here that the roots are already trying to go through the bottom, so it'll have to be cropped or whatever to make sure. But yes, I think that they're going to be better for the repot. Might see if I've got one slightly bigger than that. Perhaps one nearer a 6-inch, because there's a lot of root, and so I don't like chopping roots to bits. So I'm going to see what I've got, and then I'll come back and we'll have a look at the end results. Okay, I've got rid of all that old bark. I've had a play with the different pots. The Liodoro, or whatever it is going into a 13cm pot. The Mini Mark, because he's got far more root, is going into a bigger pot, into a 16cm pot. Because I think that's got the roots to drain it. This one I think is going to need the smaller pot. So really, I think it's just going to be a very basic Phalaenopsis repotting video. Everybody's seen a million times. I'll just do one and then not video the other. I'm very surprised if anybody watching my channel hasn't seen fowls potted before, but I'll just do this one. It's exactly what you would expect. We're getting stuff now. This is where these get quite difficult, because you've got to get under these blooming great big leaves and try and persuade the bark and everything to go down. I mean, as it is, you can see we've got some root right down in the bottom of the pot. Well, so be it. It's going to end up being however it ends up, I think. There really isn't very much I can do about that. It'll be what it will be. Que sera, sera, as the old song goes. I'm not showing my age being able to whistle que sera, sera. The English thing was Doris Day. Well, that I think is pretty solid. We've got a bit down there which could be filled a little bit better, but here we are. No. That's better. I know a lot of people would say that you haven't got it tight enough if you can't pick the whole thing up and bring the pot with it, but no, I've never really found that to be the case, not with these plastic pots that are relatively flexible, because you're not really packing it in, it just sort of pushes the pot out of shape. But I think that'll give it a good chance to get going again. We've got all the roots down in the pot now. Some somebody with more money than I've got flying a helicopter over the house. Right, so that is Liodoro. I'm not going to bother spiking that, it's got it quite nicely. Where's the nameplate? There we go. So that's that one done. This one I think is going to be a bit more interesting. There's a lot more root to get the bark down inside. I'm going to have to be extremely careful repotting this. As I say, we've got 2 new spikes, we've got roots and all sorts of things. I can't get everything in, so we're going to end up with some of these roots are going to still be aerial. There's very little I can do about that. I lose a leaf if I'm not careful. I think, like all of us, I've knocked spikes off. I knocked most of the spike off the big Cattleyas a few months back. I mean, luckily I've got something out of its second spike, but no thanks to me, that is. We have got so many roots, it's not true. I wondered why it just kept flowering and flowering and flowering. I think the answer is it was perfectly happy and settled and decided it was going to let rip. But I think bark deteriorates, we all know that, and I think if you are if you leave it too long, you can end up killing a very happy plant just because you suddenly get to a point where the bark's no good and you've the root system you had just can't deal with the conditions in the pot. So again, that one I think we've got pretty well settled in the pot. We've got some aerial roots, there's very little I can do about that. I'm not going to start heaving and hauling and all the rest of it, that's not necessary. I haven't managed to knock the spikes off, they're still there. So that's the other one done. This will need a spike because it hasn't finished blooming yet. It probably wants a bigger spike than it had actually. Yeah, I want some bigger spikes than that I can use. That's the biggest I've got. I think no, it's not. That must be a small. Yep. No, that's the bigger one. If I clip that up like so and then clip this one a bit lower down, we can enjoy the end of that spike and See where we go with these. So that's that. That's both of those done. Wanted doing for a while, or certainly the Liodoro wanted doing for a while. But I was very, very surprised by the Mini-Mock. Really surprised. I've never seen 2 diameters of root before when I've unpotted a fowl. But I hope you found that interesting. I quite enjoyed doing that one. I hope that this will give particularly Liodoro a bit of a kickstart and get it going again. I don't know what to do with those spikes. I'll leave it a bit. These shorter ones really haven't done much at all. It put this big one up last. If you look at the end, you can see that there's still potentially something there. It's covered in happy sap. It's thumping feed up it. So what can you say? I think it's all right. All right, I'll let you go. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.